welcome to Just Us Thinking. I am your host, Michael.
And I'm your co-host, Rebecca.
And I'm Mikey.
So, three of us are back in the studio here.
We are, and we're kind of doing a little special edition tonight.
We are. This episode we're going to call The Adoption.
We are, yeah.
All right, so adoption episode. Mikey, you ready for this?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
All right.
It's half the battle.
You're right.
That is true.
So now Rebecca is your mother now.
Yes, she is.
All right, and she adopted you.
Yes, she did.
So are you happy about that? Let's start there.
I am indeed happy with this.
Good.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that.
All right, so that's the up portion. So
I'm no longer the evil stepmother.
no, you're just the evil mother.
Yeah.
Nice ring to it, though, right? All right, so Mikey, why don't you take us back?
Well, pretty much like before Rebecca came in. So before Rebecca came in, pretty much from when Tiffany, me, you, and Wendy were still living here.
And Wendy is your
biological mother.
Okay.
I pretty much just remember the fighting and her waking me up in the middle of the night to run off with me and drop me off somewhere at either my grandpa's house, or we would just go drive off to like a little place. Because like I remember one time we went up and we went to like this healthcare place right up here at one time.
Did you guys go in, or did you guys just sit in the parking lot?
She went in. I remember her filling up an application or something.
But you just sat in the car?
No, I went in with her.
Okay. So, okay, yeah, that is understandable. So, obviously, you know, me and Wendy had our fights up and down.
Yeah, you had a lot of them.
Right, and yet now you talked to your sister on this, and your sister is older.
Yeah, so she has, I guess, a little more experience with this stuff, I guess.
Well, yeah, so she grew up with it. She grew up with the fighting. She grew up with the arguing, and you know, so we would kept going back and forth. And you're right. So you know what Wendy did with you was we would have an argument. She would scoop you up, tell me that I would never see you guys again, and then she would take off. And I would have to call her back or call her and say, you know, I could fix whatever, you know, I'll fix whatever. Generally, it was over money, I'll be honest with you. So it was over money, and I would tell her, you know, I'll go ahead and pay it, just, I want to see my kids. She did that with Tiffany, too. So I kind of, you know, the divorce kind of, I was trying to break that mold, that cycle.
I can see that, yeah.
So now, and you don't remember too much of the fighting because you were pretty young, I think.
Yeah, I was pretty young when most of you guys did it.
But you do remember us arguing.
I do remember a good small portion of it, I guess.
Well, yeah, it kind of sticks with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when parents fight, now everybody fights.
Yeah, everybody does fight, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
We have our issues sometimes, too, so.
We have our disagreements. We have our arguments. Every couple fights.
but you see, here's the thing. You guys, like, resolve your problems and, you know...
Talk it out?
Yeah, talk it out. That's something you never did with Wendy, and that's something she would probably never have done with you.
Well, and that's, yeah, and that's a tough subject there. So there was never a resolution, which is why it went to a divorce. We would have an argument. The argument would never get resolved. So of course it happens again, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of resolution. You have to have a you have an argument or a disagreement, you talk about it, you hear all sides, you have to have a meeting of the minds, and you move forward. There was no moving forward, unfortunately.
And that showed.
Right. So now, I want to say we've been together, what, 7 or 8 years?
7.
7 years.
Yeah.
So you were still, you were preteen. You were what, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that time, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, he's 15 now, so he would have been like 7 or 8.
Right. So now it was hard. Divorce is hard on everybody, but from a 7-year-old, 8-year-old's perspective, pretty tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So what do you remember? So once the relationship between me and Wendy was over, we were trying to do a co-parenting with you, right?
Yeah.
So kind of walk us through that.
That I don't know how to explain it. It was like a little weird, like spending days, like not spending days with like somebody all the time and like going back and forth. And it was a little weird, I guess, to put it that way.
Right. So you went from you'd be around us both every day to now you're with her some days, with me other days.
And it was nice because, I could get a break from you or every once in a while, and then, I'm not with somebody 24/7, and, I get on somebody's nerves a little too much, and,
Right. Well, everybody gets on everybody's nerves. I hate to say it. When you're on top of people, you're going to get on each other's nerves. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's nice to get a break from. And I have to say, Tiffany has a newborn baby that cries quite a bit. I'm not very good with kids. I think that, especially with a crying baby. So, I mean, can you imagine having something that you created, and then I'm sure Tiffany even needs a break from that every once in a while.
I'm sure she does.
And the kid did nothing wrong except for be born. So even a parent needs a break every once in a while. Say, hey, Austin, take the baby for a bit. I need a break. Or Austin needs to give the baby and say, I need a break. Or maybe Austin needs to say, I need a break from you, or vice versa. That does happen. That helps.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that person doesn't love you or anything like that. That just means that, sometimes we get, the people we love are the people that we can get on that nerve the most on, right?
Yep.
So no, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need a minute to myself. So now, what do you remember after the breakup? Let's put it that way, right? I mean, right when we're getting divorced.
After that, I remember one day you and Wendy went to the courthouse, and like me and Sammy were like just walking around out in front of the courthouse, just messing around.
And Sammy is Austin's brother.
Yeah, Austin's older brother.
That was
Younger brother.
Younger brother. Younger.
Sammy is an adult now, I believe. So
Yeah, I think he just moved out of Barb's place.
yeah, so that tells you how long ago it was. So you guys were playing around in front of the courthouse because we were in there doing all the paperwork for the divorce, right?
Yeah.
So now, how would you describe your relationship with Wendy?
I would say it's not very good.
So, but it didn't start out that way, right?
No, it didn't.
So take us back. Take us back to, I think she was living with Tiffany, right?
Yeah, she was living with Tiffany in Austin when she moved out of your place.
I think she moved in with...
I think she tried to move in with Grandpa at one point.
And I think they kept butting heads or something.
Yeah, and then she later on moved in with Tiffany.
And she had a job at that time.
She did, yeah.
Because I remember helping her get that job. So she was working at CenturyLink. I talked to a person that worked there, an old friend of mine. I believe her name was Christina. So I basically initiated that, said, hey, and got her the job there. So she decided to not live with my father. Her parents are in California. So she decided to move in with Tiffany, I think to save up money.
Yeah, I think it was to save up money so she could find her own place or something.
Right. So how was that? I mean, you're going over to visit your mom, and Tiffany and Austin are there. How was that?
You know, sometimes it was a little awkward. Because, like, there'd be, like, sometimes where she would, like, work late. And, like, either I would still be up or something. Or, like, I would wake up and hear her coming home because, like, I passed out on the couch or something because I was watching TV.
Okay.
And, yeah, I would wake up to hear her. Or I would just be up, just either waiting for her or I just couldn't fall asleep at that time.
Okay. Was it weird being there?
It was a little bit, kind of. Like, it wasn't super weird being there, but, like, it was somewhat weird.
So Tiffany and Austin had a 2-bedroom apartment, so they had their room.
Yeah.
This is before Serenity and before the babies, so before any grandkids of mine are over there, before you had any other little rugrats running around. It was basically Tiffany and Austin were in one room, and you and your mother were sharing the other room, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
You know, for the time when I was little, I didn't have a problem with it. But as I got older, and when she moved into the apartment, it got a little bit weirder. I mean, we had our own beds in the other apartment, but it wasn't, you know, it was still a little weird.
So you guys, it was a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
She couldn't afford a 2-bedroom.
No, she could not.
So at that point, you guys had 2 separate beds. So she had her own bed. You guys weren't sharing a bed.
No.
But you were sharing the room.
Yeah, we were sharing the room.
Okay.
The only good thing is he wasn't over there a whole lot.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is you didn't spend a whole lot of time over there, right?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you want to spend more time over there?
You know, if I had my own room, I probably would have wanted to.
Okay. So, now you had some game systems over there, and now at this point, your mother started dating someone too. So at that point, I was dating Rebecca, and your mother was dating someone else, right?
I don't know if she was dating anyone at this time.
She was dating AJ. Because
Yeah.
AJ would come over.
Was that the time she started dating AJ?
Yeah.
It was I don't know when, I don't really know exactly when it started dating, but I know when she was in her apartment, she was dating AJ.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't remember that far back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, you're a kid, so you shouldn't really notice that too much, because she was in the apartment, and I think you were upset with her and AJ.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now I remember that. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, tell us about that.
Well, you see, my only problem with Wendy and AJ was they did the same thing that you and her used to do, which was fight all the time. Or a majority of the time. It wasn't all the time, but it was the majority of the time.
Okay. And now, did they come to a resolution, or was it same story?
Same story.
Okay.
Or from what I've heard, that there's never been a resolution.
Okay. Because I remember you coming back to tell me and Rebecca that you didn't like going over there because of them fighting all the time.
And that was true. That was true. I did not like them fighting because it reminded me of you and her, and I didn't want to be around that.
So now let me ask you this. So we're going to get some. There's going to be some tough conversation here. So we're just going to all the cards are on the table here. So did you ever tell her, say, hey, I don't like the way you and AJ fight? Did you ever try to have a conversation with her?
I never did.
Why?
Part of the reason is because I thought, if I talked to her about it, she would blow up in my face and bite my head off and blow it off like it was nothing.
Okay, so generally when you feel that way for a reason. Did that happen?
Well, I think because my mind was like, oh, she's already in an angry mood, that she wouldn't want to talk about it, and that even if I brought it up the next day, I thought she would have just went right back to that same mood and wanted to just scream and yell. I'm like,
okay.
And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that.
Is that what you remember with her, is she just gets mad and screams and yells?
Sometimes, yeah, she would, AJ would, call her and they would get, in a fight or something.
Over the phone?
Over the phone. Sometimes it would be, I'd be, in the back bedroom, and then, because she's came over a couple of times, and then they've started arguing about something. I wasn't really paying attention at the time, because I think I had the TV and YouTube going, so...
Okay.
And I don't know how you can watch YouTube and the TV at the same time.
Don't
get it.
I do it all the time.
Lord.
And it just, was not... it just wasn't something I wanted to be a part of anymore, because I'm like, I've had enough with the fighting and everything between you two. Right.
No, I can understand that too. So what happened after that? So kind of walk us through the whole. Yeah, we're gonna go through a whole timeline here, so we'll do that.
After that, she slowly started to, I guess, lose her job. She lost her job.
Okay.
And
now, let's go back, because when she was living with Tiffany and Austin, Tiffany and Austin ended up moving to another apartment, right?
Yeah. Now,
at the end there, now she was working for CenturyLink there.
Yes, she was.
And then something happened where she was, I don't know if it was fired, or forced quit or something. It came a point where she was no longer working for CenturyLink.
Yeah.
So she was unemployed, living with Tiffany and Austin.
Yes.
They're moving out. And then I end up helping her get the apartment she was in and getting her a job at Alorica, right across the street from where she was working. So I understand she was on hard times, and my goal was I wanted her to have her own place, so you had a place to go. Really, that's my motivation, was to at least get her to a place where she can have you part-time and actually see you. So, like I said, we're trying to co-parent. So now she's in her apartment. You're saying she was at the point of losing, or fired, quit, whatever. She was to the point where she's no longer working for Alorica.
Yeah. And there would be some times where she would leave, dressed up in her work clothes, and I don't know if she was actually still working at that point. I don't remember if she got fired, and she's like telling me that she's going to work and then like coming home. I don't know.
Did you? So there was something in your.
There was something in my mind where I'm like, you're walking out of the house, but like,
It just seemed weird.
it seemed a little off.
Okay.
And then she's like, don't tell your dad, but I quit my job.
Okay. So she told you she quit.
She told me she quit, yeah.
Okay. So, and then she told you not to tell me.
Yes.
So, how did you feel about that?
You know, it did not make me feel great that I was lying to you. Because, like, part of me wanted to, like, tell you, but part of me said, well, I don't want you to go and, start another argument, or I don't want her to get mad at me, and then you know...
You didn't want the fighting to start.
I didn't want the fighting to start, so I decided to keep my mouth shut.
Okay. So now we're going to go over to Rebecca on this, because now Wendy would come pick you up and take you out. Now, she wasn't taking you. You weren't. Generally, she'd come over like a couple days, take you out to dinner, and then drop you back off. Or I think on Mondays she would take you, and like you're spending really like 1 or 2 nights over there max.
Yeah, and she'd come over and pick him up like 1 or 2 days after school or something for a couple hours.
And take him for a couple hours, or stay in our house, because I mean, there's a few times where they'd come over and we would end up leaving to go out so they could hang out and be together, right?
Yeah.
So now this is where your mother's telling you don't tell your dad, or Wendy was saying don't tell your dad that I lost my job, and you're sitting in the same room.
And she's just blabbing about how bad her day was at work, and it's like...
Well, and she was doing that to you, Rebecca, right?
Yeah, because I remember, being at work, and she'd come in, say hi, and, talk about her day at work.
And all the stuff that... So she would...
Because I remember the office getting bed bugs, and she was like, they had to take all these steps to get rid of the bed bugs, and then come to find out she wasn't working there. Like, okay.
And she wasn't working there for like a month at that point, right?
I think so.
So I think it was like a month that was happening. So Mikey, you're sitting in Rebecca's office while Wendy's telling her this story about her working, and what do you think?
I never really thought to tell her, because
You didn't want the fighting to start.
I didn't want the fighting to start, and I feel like if I told Rebecca, she would relay it back to you, and then you would relay it back to Wendy, and then the fighting would start, and it's like, well, why am I hearing that you're not
Working.
you haven't been working for a month through Rebecca?
Well, and you got to understand from a parent's standpoint, it's you. Unfortunately, I wish I didn't have to work, but we all have to work. We all have bills to pay. That's unfortunately when you get an adult, that's what you do. You have to do the responsible thing.
Yeah.
So if she's not working, then we're supposed to co-parent. I mean, how can you co-parent when one of the parents is A, making the child lie to the other person, B, lying to the other person, and then, and if memory serves me correct, I believe my father paid her rent.
I think your dad has paid her rent a couple of times, and I think her grandparent has too.
Or her parents.
Her parents, not grandparents.
Your grandparents on her side.
Yeah.
They paid it a few times, and then eventually she wasn't able to make her rent anymore. She was getting evicted. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So she finally called Rebecca. She called us, right?
I think so, yeah.
And then she finally came clean that she wasn't working.
Yeah.
And then once that happened, once we we found out later that my father and her parents paid the rent because her and AJ, I think, had a pretty good fight that night too, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think she was getting evicted. Basically, her world was caving in on her. All the lies, all the deceit, everything that she was doing caught up with her. Not paying the bills, not, eventually, that came to a head. And then you and I ended up driving her to the hospital.
We did, yeah. That was a fun Easter evening.
Yeah, that was Easter Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we checked her into the hospital because she was not doing good.
Yeah.
We dropped her off. You and I stayed with her
Yeah.
for a while. And then I remember calling her parents and telling her, hey, we dropped her off. She's not doing good. And I remember them yelling at me for it.
Yeah.
It was all my fault. So then she also... Now, we didn't tell you where she was or any of that. We told her she was in a safe place. We would eventually tell you down the road, but I think you were kind of still young at the time. We didn't want to tell you that, right?
Yeah. And then eventually you did tell me that it was like in a mental hospital.
Yep. We took her to the mental hospital. She was not doing good. So we took her there to get help. She needed the help. Now, I'm trying to I'm trying to remember the timeline. So please, you guys need to help me a little bit with that.
I remember he was in 5th grade.
Okay. Because she was showing up to some of the school events.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember you pulling her off to the side at one of those and you were talking to her outside about something. We were inside the entire time you did that.
Well, she
I think she threw a fit or something. I don't remember.
it very well could have, and I pulled her off to the side so you guys would not have to deal with that. We all had to deal with it anyway, so...
Yeah.
But she eventually got evicted from the apartment. I believe me and a bunch of my friends, Chris, you, Rebecca, we all moved all her stuff into a storage unit. Mm-hmm. I remember having to pay that storage unit.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have any kind of credit card or anything. So I ended up, getting her a storage unit. And then she moved in with AJ, right?
Yes, then she moved in with AJ.
Okay. And then, now I did have a rule. So you were not allowed to go to AJ's because AJ lived there with her brother. And I didn't know who her brother was. So my only rule that I had was I would want to meet him before I sent my son over to stay with someone that I didn't know who he was. I mean, someone I've never met. Someone I couldn't even describe the guy. So, I mean, what do you think? Is that unreasonable, or what do you think, Rebecca?
I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, you don't have to know everything about the guy, but a meeting would have been nice just to introduce him, introduce each other, just, I mean, I don't think it was too much to ask.
What do you think, Mikey? Do you think that would be reasonable?
That is reasonable. Because, I feel like if you're sending your kid over to live with somebody, you want to know who's all in that household so you know, kind of what to expect there,
Right, and I think I did the same thing with a lot of... And now, I didn't always meet Tiffany's friends' parents, but Wendy did.
Yeah.
So I'm like, once you go over there and meet them, I think when you were going over with, was it Jace?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my rules. Is we dropped you off. We went in and met the parents, and that's just something you do.
Yeah,
It's the way I was raised. So you have to meet that. You don't just send your kid off to do whatever with people you don't know.
Yeah.
right. And I mean, my parents did that too. So I mean, it's nothing new.
Okay. So, and I think now, Mikey, you might not know this, but me and Rebecca met AJ and Wendy at Arby's one time.
Yeah.
We had a couple meetings with Wendy and AJ to discuss a lot of the things for co-parenting.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I thought, well, if AJ and Wendy are together, you and Rebecca, you and me are together, that we all need to be on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think we left a couple of those meetings going, I don't think this works very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a couple times, there was 1 or 2 times where we thought, okay, this might not be too bad, but then...
And then nothing came
changed.
out.
Yeah,
nothing came out of it. And then we kept saying we wanted to meet the brother, at least, just meet him. I'd like to meet the guy. We didn't even know where she lived, remember? We didn't have an address or knew where the place was. So if you went over there and a fire broke out, we wouldn't even know where to go get you.
That
yeah,
is true.
So there was a lot of issues that I had with her living with AJ. And then it got to the point where, I don't know, did you tell me, what did you tell me? That AJ didn't want you over there, or?
Wendy told me, like, AJ, I don't remember the exact wording. I want to say, like, AJ didn't like me or something. And, like, she didn't want me over there.
Well, you were still pretty young too, right?
Yeah, and that hurt. So I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did that make you feel? I mean,
It hurt.
yeah,
if you're gonna date, and that goes for anybody, if you're dating someone and they have kids, and you don't like kids, then you shouldn't be dating them.
yeah. Go find someone that doesn't have kids.
Right. There's, now, and I say I don't really like kids, and I say that because I don't really dislike kids. I just
You're just old and grumpy now.
old and grumpy. I like TJ.
Yeah,
He's a kid. I like Haley. Haley's fun to
yeah,
screw. I could joke and mess with her and screw with her head a little bit, and
yeah.
she's
but
pretty good.
You're not dating their mother either, so I mean,
Well, that's true, but your nieces and nephews, I thought we got along great too.
yeah,
It's not like I don't like kids. I like kids. I just don't like them always around. And I don't know, other people's kids.
yeah,
It's a whole nother story. But I mean, AJ knew that you were in Wendy's life. So to say that to a kid, or even to have Wendy say that, I don't think that is good.
But here's the thing. She would always act so nice around me. And I think she just did it despite of, like, not really liking me having there, but, like, she wanted to be nice to me.
yeah. I mean, she was trying to make an effort, but
We'll see.
again, you still, you got to realize that you were part of that package that came with Wendy, and
The issue is we don't know if the issue was with AJ or Wendy.
yeah,
Because, I mean, here Wendy's telling, you, Mikey, to lie to us. And, once you're in that lie realm, it's hard to believe someone there.
That is true.
So now so she moved in with AJ, and that took a lot of, if she wanted to see you, she actually came over to the house here.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that?
Yeah. It made me a little weirded out, because, like, I don't know how, like, you guys would have reacted, and I'm sure it probably weirded you guys out a little bit.
yeah,
We were weirded out.
yeah,
I think we were trying to. So, and you may not know a lot of this too, and there was a time where, like, Christmas and Thanksgiving, those were two of the weirder holidays,
yeah,
because we tried to include her because we really didn't want you to do without one parent or not.
Well, and I think one year we even had AJ over. So, I mean, and that was always one of the things I told you from the beginning was, you know, my other friend went through divorce with her husband and they were downright nasty to each other. They can't be in the same room. I'm like, I didn't want that for Mikey.
And neither did I.
You know,
So we sucked it up.
We sucked it up. We had them over. We had, you know, Wendy, Tiffany, and Austin over.
I think one Christmas my father was in here too.
Yeah. And then one year AJ was here.
Right.
I don't think she stayed long, but she was here.
No, but we were trying to make an effort. We wanted to make sure. I think we even had a conversation afterwards, or even before and afterwards. This is really uncomfortable. I'm not liking this. Let's just hold it together. We'll just get through it for Mikey.
Yeah. I mean, it's a few hours. It wasn't the end of the world.
No, but it was an awkward it was a very, very awkward few hours. Now, what Mikey does, and I don't know if I told you this or not, but I think there was a time where she didn't have money she didn't have money for Christmas. So I ended up giving my credit card, Rebecca, and saying go with her to the store and get Christmas presents for everybody. Yeah. And I remember you getting a call saying that, you know, the bill's $500 or something like that. It was over $500. I remember you texted me saying, it's over $500. Are you okay with this? Yeah. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, just whatever. It's fine. So that Christmas was, you know, and then she said, oh, don't worry, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back.
Yeah. Or at least split it or something. I thought it maybe was.
I think it started off with she was going to pay me back and then she couldn't pay it back. And then she says, well, how about we split it? And I said, fine, whatever.
And that was for Mikey, Tiffany, and Austin, and then, you know.
Right. So if they got a Christmas out of it, I would... Here's the thing. I never saw a dime of the money back.
No.
So when I do something like that, if I loan money out like that, I always have to save myself a lot of grief. I've always said, I don't expect that money back. If I expect the money back, we're going to sign a paper. Yeah. You know, if I expect the money back, we're signing a paper. We're going to do a loan agreement, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, you didn't see that part of it, Mikey.
No. I do not even remember that.
Yeah. So, and it gets kind of crazy. So, now when she was with AJ, I want to say, well, you and I had a trip to Denver, right? That was when we did the
bowling tournament.
And then we talked about Mikey going with, and then we decided that would be a good opportunity. So we both reluctantly
let her come over here and stay here.
Let her stay at our house for a week.
I think it was just a weekend.
Yeah,
it felt like a week.
It was a long weekend, but because it was over a holiday, so it was like a longer weekend.
We left on the tournament started Thursday.
No, it didn't. It started.
It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was a 3-day tournament, and it started because we had to leave because we were planning on leaving Thursday morning.
Yeah, we left Thursday, and I think we came back Monday.
Oh, did we? Okay, so that's still Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's still 5 days. That's a work week.
Yeah.
So we were gone for 5 days, and then we let you and her stay here in the house. Because she didn't have a place for you guys to go. How was that?
It wasn't that bad. Because, like, I had my own space. So, like, I could distance myself from her.
Okay.
And, like, for the majority of the time, I either sat out in the living room with her and just watched TV, or, like, we went to go grab food or something and then come back here.
Okay.
So, you know, it wasn't that bad.
Okay. Well, that's good. It was a tough thing for us to do, though. And then what happened after that? So AJ's brother passed away.
Yes. And then, I guess,
they got kicked out of that apartment.
Either they started, like, selling AJ's mom stuff or
You were
not
over
AJ.
there when that happened, right?
AJ's brother's stuff or something like that. Their mom threw a fit and like they got them kicked out.
So then they ended up, her and AJ ended up, if I remember right, they were couch surfing on some friends' couches.
Until they found the hotel.
So, and then AJ started working at the hotel off of Miracle Hills.
Yeah.
And then your mother started, or Wendy started working at the hotel.
Yes.
Now that's a whole,
That's a whole can of worms.
so yeah, let's open it. Let's go for it.
Okay then. So, pretty much what I remember from the hotel was after that, AJ started working there, and then Wendy started working there,
Okay.
and they were all living there, and I would go over there occasionally, or I think like once
Was it,
a week, once
a-
every 2 weeks.
I think it was, you were staying there once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get it more often, and I was trying to get it like multiple days in a row. I think that's because on my birthday we got in that argument
Oh yeah,
that I dropped you off. I was dropping you off late, and she was upset that I was dropping you off late because we were out with dinner with Tiffany and everybody else. She wasn't invited. I think that's what kind of upset her, and then she was upset, and I think that's when I said, well, if you'd take him more than one night every 2 weeks, if you could take him, maybe 2 nights in a row or something, that's more. That the argument was we were trying to get her to see you more.
and here's the thing: every single time you've opened that opportunity, she's closed it down. She's closed it down and said no.
Right. So it wasn't. We were trying.
She probably said, I can see what I can do or something.
And then nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
So what happened at the hotel? Because I think that's where everything started to break apart, right?
That's when everything started to really break apart. Because, like, I remember one day I went over there and, like, I was playing with Haley on a game. And she's like, you need to get off that phone and you need to spend time with me. I'm like, I was dumbfounded. I was in shock because I'm like, really? I mean, like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to spend time with you, but I probably wasn't going to spend, like, hours with her, unlike I do here some nights.
Well, okay.
And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to get into a heated argument.
Well, but eventually it did end up to an argument because you came home from one of the trips over there, right?
Yeah, and I had bed bug bites.
You did have a bunch of bed bug bites. Now, this wasn't our first scare. We had that Branson trip that we talked about.
Yeah.
The hotel we stayed out had bed bugs. The steps that we had to go through to make sure we did not get bed bugs
It was horrible.
was a nightmare. I would not want to go
God.
through it again.
Nope.
And I remember cooking the clothes outside in the car.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
would in the middle of summer we heard heat stops them. So we took all the plastic bags, we put them in the back of your car, Rebecca.
Yeah.
We turned on the car and we turned the heat up full blast, rolled up all the windows and cooked everything.
I think we did that with your truck when you had your truck too.
Yep. So we wanted to make sure there was no bed bugs anywhere. And luckily we didn't. We didn't end up with bed bugs.
Yeah. I don't know how we managed to do that.
Thank God.
We kept most of our stuff in a bag
Yeah.
there. We never unpacked.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of got lucky there. But Mikey, I think we were all eaten up from that trip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we had a bed bug scare before this. You go stay at the hotel, you show up with bed bug bites.
There you go.
That's a tongue twister a little
Yeah.
bit there, isn't it? So, and then what did she tell you?
And I was itching that one morning, and I didn't say anything to her because, and I could see her itching too. I didn't say anything because at first I thought it was just me, and then another time and then when I saw her scratching, I thought like, oh, we probably, because I think we were outside one of those days, or like something like that, or something, I don't remember. And I thought we just, got bitten by a bug. And then I never said anything. And then when we came back, Rebecca looked at me, and she's like, you have red spots all over you.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember.
And then she called you into the bathroom, and you're like, those are bed bug bites.
Yeah, I think I pulled up a picture of bed bug bites.
Yeah.
I was like looking, I'm like, these look kind of like what we had before.
And then she's like, oh, no, it was just spiders. It's just spiders.
Yeah, because I called her and I said, Mikey is like tore up with bed bug bites. And she's like, nope, it was just a spider bite. And I remember telling her, I'm like, did an army of spiders attack him at night, or were you guys attacked by vicious spiders and an army of them? Because I mean, there was a lot.
There was a lot.
And I said, no, these are bed bug bites. And then she told me, she goes, well, I'll tell
the hotel to go spray that room.
Yep. So we thought it was overdone. Well, okay, bed bugs. I think we took all your clothes. We kind of went through the same crap
Yeah.
that we did before.
Yeah.
So and then she was supposed to take care of that, and then you go back over there again.
Yep.
Well, the second time they stayed in a different room.
It was a different room.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I said, when we were sending over there, I said, you guys aren't going to stay in that same room you had bed bugs in. And she's like, no, I'm going to get a second room. It's across the hall. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean.
And that time was good.
Was that time good?
That time was good.
Yeah.
It was the third time.
Okay. So the third time you were over there.
She got the same room from before.
Okay. And then you got bed bug bites again.
Yep.
And then what did she say?
She told me to lie to you again.
So she told you not to tell me.
Yep. Pretty much.
Okay.
That is what happened.
So she wanted to lie to us again. You came home.
And then this time, I think you actually caught me at the door as she was leaving. And you're like, what happened to you? 'Cause I remember you, like, either I was, like, wearing sandals or something. And you, like, looked at my feet and you're like, why do you have red spots all over you?
Yeah,
and then
she wouldn't even come in. She literally dropped him off, and you weren't even to the door by the time she was pulling away. And I thought for a minute, wait, this is kind of weird. Why? Normally she comes in and talks to us. This one, she was peeling out, taking off, and I was kind of hypersensitive at that point. So I said, wait a minute. And you were coming in, and I remember seeing your legs, and I remember seeing, like, you had bright red spots on there. And I think I kind of started hitting the roof right off the bat. And I said, Rebecca, I called for Rebecca. We had you in the kitchen. We said, take off your shirt. Let's, and there was a bunch of red marks all over you.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that.
Then we ended up showing up. I tried to call her. She was working at the Burger King right down the street.
I think you had her come. I think she came back up or something.
No, we went up to the Burger King, remember?
You went up to the burger. Yes.
That's when you yelled at her.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
I remember yelling at her.
So I want to say we got up there. I was upset that this was the second time that there was bed bugs. And I think, at that point, did I say that he wasn't going to be back at that hotel?
I think I said that at that point.
Did you?
Yeah.
And then you agreed with her.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh no. I was like,
we can't keep going through bed bugs.
Yeah.
You said we can't have him continue to come home with bed bugs. So, I think we had that conversation. And then she got mad and upset. And then Mikey started to yell at Wendy, and then you tried to stop him.
Yeah.
And that's when I said,
And then you're like, no.
Just let him go off.
Let him cook, just let him be.
"Well, you have to have your voice. I've been telling you that forever." I said, you need to find your voice. You need to stand up for yourself. And that's one of those things that she's telling you to lie to me, and you're not comfortable with it. We ended up, you ended up seeing a counselor for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you weren't happy with that. So we saw a counselor. We showed up every day. Every time you had a counseling appointment, me and Rebecca were there.
Yeah.
She showed up once.
She did.
And she wasn't happy when she showed up.
No.
She was mad. She got upset. She didn't like what you and the counselor had to say. We weren't in there. We don't know, and I don't want you to tell what happened. So that is between you and the counselor. What happened in that room is your business, not anybody else's.
I don't even remember what happened.
Okay. Well, that's even better. But something happened in that room. She stormed out. I remember we got called in there, and I don't think the counselor liked her at all.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't know, that she wasn't helpful.
Yeah.
So she's obviously not helping the situation here. No, that's what he said. So, and the guy was a really, really good guy.
Oh yeah, he was very nice.
And then, I think you and I made a list of that she was gonna, get her own place, because she was still working and living in the hotel.
Yeah.
And she was still coming over, but we didn't, at that point, we didn't want her in our house either.
Yeah.
So we didn't, we told her, look, something has to go, because I don't know, you're living in a hotel that obviously is infested with bed bugs, because this is not once but twice, 2 times. If it was one time, I could get it. If it was, twice, I wouldn't go back and stay at that hotel down in Branson again.
No.
You couldn't pay me enough to go stay there.
And I remember over time, like, I think their room finally got infested with bed bugs too.
Well, yeah. Once you have bed bugs, you're done. And I think that now that hotel's closed down.
Yeah.
And one of the big things there was bugs.
Yeah.
The bugs.
They renovated it though.
Well, they renovated it. I think they almost have to. The only way to really renovate something like that is with a can of gasoline and a match, right?
Probably, yeah.
But no, I mean, I remember watching. They were selling all the stuff. The hotel was selling all the stuff,
Yeah.
and the comments for that was
Horrible.
on Facebook. Why would you want a bug infested? They have bed bugs like crazy. I mean, then the stories just came out.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like some tweaker walking down the hallway, and I'm like, this is not a good environment for a kid. There's druggies like walking around.
Yeah.
And not even the good hippie druggies. I mean, these are the strung out psycho druggies. Good druggies and bad druggies.
Yeah.
So so we wouldn't let her come in the house because we didn't want the bed bugs. And I think Mikey, you and I kind of sat down with a notepad, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of went through, things that she needed to do, which was she needed to get her own place, right?
That was top priority on the list.
That was top priority. Do you remember what was on that list?
I do not. I remember a house. I think there was like a job on there.
Yeah, she had to have money to come in. She had to have an apartment, or she had to have her own space.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but I didn't. You're not going to share a hotel room with her and AJ. There's not going to be 3 of you in a hotel room.
Yeah, there's no way.
And then even with her staying right next door, I didn't want you in there alone, or AJ. It was just a weird situation.
Yeah.
Because you're there and there's these druggies walking by. I didn't like the situation, so we wanted her to get her own apartment, house, whatever she was going to get, her own space where she would be okay. She was going to start taking you more often. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it was going to say, because I said this one night a week that you take him and then come visit him for like 4 hours and then like take off wasn't flying. So you need to take him more often. And I want to say me and Rebecca were like wanting to do a couple like weekend trips, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted her to take you for a weekend so we can go, me and Rebecca were, we're still dating. We're getting engaged. We're trying to create a life. So we wanted kind of a little,
Alone time
between us without you around. I mean, and I know that might not sound great, but we need time apart too.
Yeah.
And we also did a lot of stuff together too, though. All three of us.
Yeah, we were still taking you on trips. Now, I think that's one thing that upset you is because she went on a couple trips without you. So her and AJ left on a trip a couple times, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It kind of hurt because, like, they didn't ask, like, anything. Like, they didn't ask, like, hey, do you guys want to, like, I don't know, come with us, or did you want, like, can we take Mikey here, or whatever?
Right. I mean, they went over to the squirrel jail with, Wendy went over there with your sister. They didn't even think twice to, Wendy didn't even think twice to ask if you could go over. So that was kind of crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, so now I remember you telling me that when you used to ask her something, she would fly off the handle.
Yeah.
Kind of explain a little bit about that. I mean, what was your experiences there with her?
Well, there'd be like, after she gets like a blow up with AJ, like I would go and ask her like afterwards, like, and like part of me wasn't paying attention. So like when I would go and ask her, hey, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want? And it's like, well, geez, sorry.
So it's just a simple, what's for dinner? She bit your head off.
Yeah. And
What?
And it was crazy.
Right. No, I can understand. And then, so we gave her the list of this is what needs to happen. And I want to say that was right before Thanksgiving, right?
I believe so.
So if that was
It was
right,
Thanksgiving week, yeah.
I think it was a week right before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
or wasn't it? I don't remember.
It was like the week of Thanksgiving.
Okay, it was like early in the week.
Yeah.
I want to say we didn't like the way things were going, so I think you and I called her from my truck.
Yeah.
And we had her on. I had her on the speaker on the overhead, right?
Yeah.
And do you remember what she said?
Don't remember exactly what she said, no.
I want to say she said, I think she accused me of turning Mikey against her.
Yeah.
That it was always my way, which be 100% honest, that was partly true, and that she never wanted me to call her again. She never wanted to hear from me again.
Yeah.
Don't ever bother her again, and hung up.
And I remember, like, after like everything was blown up, I remember sitting in your truck one day and we tried calling her 5 times in a row.
Yep. So now, and that came quite a bit later. So we had the blow up, and then she just kind of disappeared. She ghosted us all.
Yeah.
I think a few times I tried to call her, she wouldn't answer. I think I sent her a couple text messages saying, this is probably not the best way to do things. No answer. And then I think that's when we started, figuring out, what we need to do. Because I think at that point, my history was her grabbing a kid and running. So we were a little bit nervous that, she was talking about going back to California. at that point we're divorced, so the divorce paper is dry, and we're supposed to have 50-50 custody. And you were not allowed to be taken outside of the state without permission from the other person. So I think we were at that point. I think, Rebecca, weren't you driving him up to school and back, or we were doing something because we were a little nervous that she was going to show up at the bus stop, pick him up, and then next thing you know, we find out he's in California.
Yeah.
So we were a little nervous of that. We thought she was a flight risk. And then ghosting us and not having any contact with her, we were a little nervous with that. So at that point, that's when we started talking about, either we need to start pushing where I can get full custody of you and she can get visitation, or that's when I gave you the option of it was either that or adoption.
And I chose adoption.
Right. And I kind of told you kind of what happened. If we did full custody, chances are the state would make her pay child support. I didn't want child support from her. I didn't really want anything from her. I didn't need anything from her. But I know that this state is a little bit like that. And I really thought that was going to get her. That was only going to get her in more trouble. The system that's set up that way for that is one person, if they can't pay child support, they're going to send them to jail, and then they sit in jail. And when they finally get out, how are they going to pay the child support?
Yeah.
It just makes no sense to me. And I'm like, I don't want that for her. I didn't want to do that to her. So what I eventually did was we talked about it, and then we talked about it some more.
Yeah.
And then I want to say that's when we get to yours, where we were calling her every day.
Yeah.
You would get in the car, we would drive, and we would try to call her to see if she would answer. And you're right, there was one day toward the end of when we were trying to reach out to her, we were on our way to Home Depot.
We were.
And we called basically nonstop all the way to Home Depot.
Yep.
And then when we left Home Depot, we called her almost nonstop all the way back. We must have called her at least a dozen or two dozen times. No answer. It kept getting to voicemail. I thought, and my thought process on that was, if I keep calling her, maybe she would think it's an emergency and finally answer.
Never did.
No. And then so I pulled your sister off to the side. So me and Tiffany went outside, and I told her, I said, is she willing to either, if she doesn't want anything to do with us, sign her rights away? Tiffany said she's not going to do that. I said, okay, well then we're going to need to, push for full custody, or she's going to need to step up, and we kept asking Tiffany at game night, what's the deal, right?
Yeah.
And Tiffany really don't want to get in the middle of it. Can't blame her, right?
That is true.
So would you?
I would not want to.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but she didn't want to do it. And I think at that point, like a year later, we came back to you again and said, well, we're going to need to do something. And that's when we said, do you want to do this? And then the attorney I was talking to said, well, it has to be 6 months without any contact. And then it turned out that me and Rebecca had to be married for 6 months, right?
Yeah, I think it was 6 months.
Yeah, so what happened was, now this was during COVID, so
yeah,
our wedding first date got pushed off.
Yeah.
Along with the second date.
Yeah.
And then we finally decided, well, we don't know what's going to go on, so we decided to go ahead and finish and get married.
Yep.
And that's what started the clock there. So once we got married, and the time frame, we hadn't talked to her for like almost a year and a half at that point, right?
Yeah.
I believe it was that year and a half point.
Yeah. So generally, it's we had no contact with her for over a year, and then we got married, and then it was still. I mean, it was almost 2 years by the time the adoption went through. It was just short because the adoption went through on September 27th.
Yep.
So, and you got to think it was not the Thanksgiving before that, it was a Thanksgiving before that.
Yeah.
So we were coming up on another Thanksgiving. So September, 2 more months, and you're at another Thanksgiving. So we were 2 months shy of 2 years.
Yep.
Which was way over the time frame.
Oh yeah.
So we were doing pretty, so the time frame was there. Now the attorneys, they did all the stuff they're supposed to do. They sent the notices, all that stuff, tried to find her, they everything there. And then I want to say we went with adoption, right?
Yep.
So how was that day for you?
Probably one of the most nerve-wracking / happiest days.
And you had Haley there with you.
I did have Ailey, yeah.
So, and the judge scared you.
Yeah, he did.
That judge was awesome, wasn't he?
It was, yeah.
I love that judge because he's like, you're missing school for this. And Mikey, you turned a shade of red I haven't seen. Now Haley is back with her mother, in the pews behind us.
Yeah, and I heard, Mom, don't tell.
Yeah, so you hear the whisper, don't tell.
Yeah.
And, he was joking. The judge was just joking. He was having a good time.
Yeah.
That's the beauty with that. That judge has so much power that he can make a statement and just provoke fear instantly. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
That's true power right there. And he wielded it perfectly.
He did.
And then we took pictures with him. He was a really nice guy, right?
He was awesome.
And then we went outside and we took a couple pictures. One of those pictures is on our podcast.
Yeah, one of our one
Our
of the
cover.
first ones.
Cover photo.
Cover photo, right? So at that point, I still didn't know how to get a hold of Wendy. We were getting ready to post it on Facebook, on social media, that we were, the adoption was done. It was a happy day for all of us. Mm-hmm. We held off posting, and we told Lacey to hold off saying anything because at that point I decided to. Well, we didn't even tell Tiffany she was going through it. She said she didn't want any part of this, so we showed up. We didn't know, so we go and tell Tiffany. Remember?
Oh yeah.
And we show up there, and we're thinking, "Oh my God, this is going to be
a nightmare."
I was like, it's going to be bad. She's going to blow up.
She's going to start crying. She's going to be cussing us out, all kinds of stuff. So we get there and we tell her. And do you remember what she said?
I think you told me Austin said, well, I told her this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Austin was very calm and collected when he said that.
Yeah.
And then Tiffany looked over you and said, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
She should have done something.
Yeah.
And so, so we were kind of caught off guard because we were expecting a different reaction.
Yeah.
We were not prepared for that, right?
No.
So we told them, and then that's when I thought we were on our way. Oh, we stopped by the bowling alley, remember?
Yeah.
Because we knew Mikey was going to be bowling up there. So we wanted to make sure that there was a copy of the adoption paperwork for the bowling alley, because if we were paranoid that Wendy, who used to bowl up there with us, would show up, and if she saw him bowling one up there, she would try and take him. So we wanted to let them know. And in that conversation with I don't remember who, I'm not going to say his name. I know who it was, but I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to call him out like that. I said, I need this, and I kind of explained what happened to him. And he goes, oh yeah, she bowls up here on Friday.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was almost caught off guard there too. And then so we give that, and then we left, and we went to eat at Renza, remember?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then we got there, and we started thinking, we're like, Jeannie, the owner of the bowling alley, is going to get there. She's going to see this paperwork, and I know she knows Wendy. If she's bowling up there on Friday, I'm like, I don't know if Jeannie's going to say something to her or not. We didn't know. So at that point, that's when we said we better go tell Tiffany, because if Jeannie shows up there, if the owner of the bowling alley shows up there and she knows Wendy and she reached out to Wendy and said, Michael just dropped off adoption papers for Mikey. We didn't know what that was going to do. We didn't know if that was going to set her off or what, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we went over and told Tiffany right away. And then what day was that on? Because we went up to the bowling alley to see if she was there.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a Wednesday night.
Right, but we found out she bowled there, so we're like, and I think we knew Friday, but we didn't know if she was bowling up there another night. And I know Wednesday night was a big bowling day that we used to do, so I'm like, well, let's go see. And then we called your grandparents on the way up there, right?
I think that was on the way home.
Yeah, it was just me and you when we called.
Oh, was it?
No,
Just,
I was in the car when you called them.
yeah,
I was in the back seat
he was in the back seat.
Okay.
because the grandfather did not say too many nice words.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I called him. He was upset. He said it was my fault that she's living in a wet, damp basement. And what would I have possibly to say to her? I'm like, well, I want to let her know, I'm like, I'm like, well, whatever. Here's,
Yeah.
the adoption was done. And he flew off the handle. He cursed me out.
And then hung up the phone.
And then hung up on me. And then
I think you eventually got a hold of her either that night or like a couple nights later.
yeah,
It was
so
that night.
it was that night. So
Yeah.
he, I guess he called Tiffany, your sister, and said, I blocked Michael. I only called him once, like forever. This is the first time I reached out to him because I'm like, I don't know how to get a hold of her, and I got some news for her. And so he blocked me. He said, was mad at Tiffany. He thought she knew, and she had no clue. And then shortly after that, I see a missed phone call, and then I called back. I called Wendy back.
You called me into the room, and or did you not?
I believe I did. I believe when I talked to her, because we made an agreement at that point, remember?
Oh yeah. Yep.
What was our agreement?
Keep nothing hidden.
No secrets, right?
No secrets.
No secrets. So, there was too many lies and other crap that was going on. So I said, let's just cut that out. I don't want her to tell you I said something that I didn't say. I wanted to make sure you were comfortable. So that's what we did. So we pulled her, I think I pulled you in the room, and she was mad. And I told her, she's like, well, I'm not going to agree to this and blah, blah. I'm like, you don't understand. It's already done. There's nothing that you agree with. You disappeared. You didn't show up. You didn't, we couldn't get a hold of you. And she was really upset.
Oh yeah, she was pretty mad that night.
Yep.
And then I think we eventually went up to the bowling alley one Friday after we got done eating at like Old Chicago, I think.
Right. We were afraid that she was going to try and say she didn't know and then come get you. So we wanted to make sure she got a copy of the paperwork. So, and that was the day I think we had Chad show up there too, right?
Oh yeah.
So Chad was there, so we wanted a witness.
And I hid behind you behind Rebecca and Chad.
Yep, because
Yeah.
I was in front, and then you were hiding between Rebecca and Chad, kind of like ducking down. I remember that because you were terrified.
Oh, I was terrified. I was afraid of what she'll do.
Yep. And then do you remember when we came in, AJ saw us first.
Yeah, and she kind of like...
She was trying to get Wendy away from us.
Yeah.
And I kind of walked around and I dropped the paperwork. I'm like, there's the paperwork.
And
We're
surprised
good
the
to go.
heck out of her.
Now, you wrote a letter in there too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So,
did. I wonder if she read it.
I don't know. You never asked her.
I never did.
So I never asked her either. So
I kind of forgot I wrote the note in there.
Yeah.
until you just mentioned something.
Right. Yeah. Because I made you write a note. I said my whole thing was you need to express your feelings to her, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's where it was.
And I guess it's on this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's here. So I don't know. I mean, how do you, looking back at everything that happened, how do you feel about everything?
You know, I do feel mad that this all happened.
Okay.
I am a little hurt.
Understandable.
And I just wish it didn't have to come to this. I really didn't.
So, and you're allowed to be mad. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be angry, mad, sad, hurt. I mean, those are all valid feelings.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No one can say, "Nah, you shouldn't be." Get over it. No, don't. That's not correct. So, you can still be mad. You can still be angry. You can still be hurt. It's up to you. Now, I've told you, if she wanted to come and like make an effort and say she wants to see you, sorry, and you want to try to have some relationship with you, I'm not opposed to that. I think you're more opposed to it than I am.
Yeah.
So now we went to the Children's Museum for was it a birthday party or?
I think it was
Serenity's birthday. Yeah.
So and then she was there.
And that wasn't bad. She seemed in a pretty good mood.
No, and she pulled. No, I remember sitting over with Tiffany. Now I was in a wheelchair because I just had my car accident.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
Now I look over and I glance over and I see Rebecca with Wendy off to the side, and I'm like, my alarms started going off. So I ended up going over there, and she apologized to us.
Yeah.
I think we both kind of said the same thing. You kind of owe Mikey the apology, not us.
Yeah.
Did she ever apologize?
I don't think she ever apologized to me. Or no, she did.
Did she?
I think she did. She did. Because I think it was like you guys stepped out of the elevator and like she apologized to me. And then like we went out to go eat.
Okay. Did you not believe the apology, or I mean, how did you feel when she apologized to you?
In my mind, half of me gave a little hope and said, maybe she'll actually start trying. And half of me was like, could this just be a hoax? Could she just be saying this just to say this?
Right. And I think she sent me a text with her new phone number. And she said, "Here's my new number." I said, "That's great." I said, "Thank you." And I still have the same number. I didn't block her. I mean, she texted me. I mean, you could text me. I'm not going to block you. And since then, we haven't seen her since then, right?
Nope.
So we, after the adoption, we saw her at the pumpkin patch, right? Mm-hmm. And then Mikey was pretty much running around with Haley. So
yeah,
there was not a whole lot of interaction there at all.
Yeah, no.
You felt really. It looked like you were uncomfortable.
I was a little bit, yeah.
Okay. And then we did the Children's Museum, and then we went out to eat.
Yeah.
She apologized, and then after that, we haven't heard from her since, really.
No.
Have we heard from her at all?
Yeah, I think she texted us her number, and that was it.
Okay. So, yeah, nothing.
So, yet, here she is. That apology was a hoax.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this, but it very well could have been a heartfelt apology. Here's a problem with where she's at, though.
Well, maybe she did say that, like, to be for it to be true. And, like, she hasn't done anything because she can't really do anything with me, or she can't really do anything, really.
Well, you heard, and now we talked to your sister about this, too, right?
Yeah.
So when we talked to your sister, she told you that the only reason she goes and sees Wendy is because she goes and gets her, and she has to initiate it, right?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of just the way she is. So I'm going to be the last one to really defend her, but you have to put yourself in her position here a little bit too. She is living. She has a job, or last I knew, she had a job. She was doing something with the pickles or something.
Yeah.
And not the edible pickles. So
No.
the pickle like gambling games, right?
Yeah.
The little $1.50 things that
The pull tabs.
the pull tabs. Okay, and it's like it's kind of like a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
She works for the company that I guess puts those together.
Oh.
So see,
I,
we did talk to her about that. We didn't try to ignore her or do anything that we didn't say go away, we hate you.
Yeah.
We said, hey, how are you doing? We tried to be very cordial, friendly, and engage in conversation.
Yeah.
So that's how we know. And then she said she's living in the basement with AJ, down close to the airport, down, not I guess not too far,
Yeah.
like 15, 20 minutes from here. We know she doesn't have a car. We know she can't drive because she doesn't have a driver's license.
that is true.
Tiffany has to go pick up Wendy if they're going to do anything. So, a part of me thinks, well, when you don't have a driver's license, you are relying on someone else where you're living, and you're in the position she's in. I hate to say it, but once you cross that threshold and you're that far gone, it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of the homeless problem that we have is once you get to that homeless state, you're done. I mean,
it's hard to come back from it unless you have.
how are you going to go get a job? You show up, dirty and smelly. You're not going to get a job.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. And it's not like they could go get a shower. And then the homeless structures are a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be standing in line at like 3:00 to make sure they get a bed in a homeless shelter. Otherwise, they're on the street again. I mean, the system is not conducive to getting people back on their feet. Period. And luckily she has someone that like takes her in. So she really never got a chance to hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to, get up. So you got to understand that, she's, probably not getting the help she needs. She probably doesn't know what to do. And this is where she's at, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to defend her, but I mean, she's in no position to do anything. And here's the thing is, she's beyond even trying. She can't even a phone call say, hey, can I at least talk to Mikey, or call me and say, hey, can we, I know I would like to at least see him, or she could, there's all kinds of things she could do.
Oh, yeah.
And even if she's mad at me and hates me, she could have done that with you, Rebecca.
Yeah. And that's the thing I don't understand, because let's admit it. I can admit it. I'm a little naive. I'm a little too trusting. And I would have been like, if I was her, I would have been like, hey, I'll go to Rebecca. I'll talk Rebecca into talking Michael into it.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, yeah, that would make sense.
yeah.
I think we even tried to talk her into going to spend the night over at your sister's house and where you guys could hang out there.
Yeah.
That happened a few times, but she could have had Tiffany negotiate any of this.
Yeah. But I think all the times that they went over there was probably pre-Serenity, or
It was during
really
Serenity.
early Serenity. Yeah.
Yeah, early Serenity.
So that's kind of what happened, right?
Yeah.
So now let's get into, how do you feel? I know you feel you said you're angry, you're still upset or mad. What do you have to say? Like if she was here, if you had to give her a message, what would you say? Do you know?
I don't. I truly don't.
Okay. Well, and that's fair. You've had a long time to think about it too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if she showed up and she said, hey, I want to can we all go out to dinners and talk? Do you want to talk? Do you not want to talk?
Listen,
where are you at with this?
I would be up for talking. I just don't want any. I just don't want to add her back into my life and have her do the same crap that she's been doing.
Yeah.
That's a very fair statement. So
Very understandable.
That's why I've been so on the fence with. That's why I really don't know, is because I don't want the same stuff to continue.
yeah, I could understand.
And it makes me sad because I truly want her back, but like I just don't want the same stuff to continue, and it's not easy to, I guess it's not easy to I can't find the right words.
Express how you feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that.
I do too. I mean, it's not like, I get as far as the court paperwork, Rebecca adopted you. She's now your mother. She's officially your mother. Wendy is no longer a parent. It's almost like the paperwork wipes her out of your life completely. But what people don't seem to understand is it's not that easy, is it? I mean, you can't just erase someone out of your life and I'll just like with me and getting divorced. That didn't wipe away everything that she did to me. I still have that trauma that I carry today.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all that trauma. That'll be maybe for another show down the road.
That's another episode.
Yeah, this is not. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. But I still carry that trauma. Signing the paperwork and the divorce didn't say, "Yep, that's all that stuff never happened. Bye bye." It doesn't work that way. There's still emotions there. She was part of your life for 8 years. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, almost half your life. Now, as you grow up, it's going to be shorter and shorter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now the other question I want to ask you is, because I know you kind of cringed a little bit when your sister was talking to you. So you heard the stories of Tiffany always going out to her grandparents in California.
Yeah.
So her grandparents, or Wendy's parents, always seem to have made an effort to be into Tiffany's life. Now, they have not made any effort to be in your life. Do you remember them at all?
No, I don't.
I mean,
I remember occasionally seeing them.
I want to say I think they saw you maybe 3 or 4 times through your life, if that. Because I remember they saw you one time. He came into town.
Oh, when they were moving into the apartment.
Yep. So when they came into town when Wendy was moving into her apartment.
Yeah.
They came into town one time with Tiffany, I believe.
For her wedding?
Yep, for the wedding. Yep. So that was 2. And I think he came in one time, and you must have been you were little, because I think he was holding you. We were eating at Cracker Barrel, and we were just coming back from, I want to say, the zoo or something. We just went and did something with him. He was holding you. You were just a baby. So those are the only 3 times I know he actually interacted with you. So now when Tiffany was talking about, spending time with them and doing all kinds of stuff with them, you kind of cringed. Or what was that about?
Well, you see, she spent all this time with them, right?
Right. She spent like almost every summer with them.
You see, when I hear that, it makes me feel a little angry, because they haven't done the same for me. And,
Okay.
And, I feel like they would have, I guess, done more, but they never really did.
So through this whole thing, even through the divorce or anything, they've never tried to reach out to you. It was never, hey, how's Mikey doing or anything like that. I think every once in a while you would talk to him on the phone.
Every once in a while, I remember the last time I remember talking to them was to wish Grandma a happy birthday.
Okay, so like on a holiday or something like that.
Yeah.
You happen to be over at either Tiffany's or Wendy's house.
Yeah.
Generally they were together, and then the phone got passed around.
Yep.
And you just ended up on the phone chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that still too, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say, yeah, that's pretty crazy. So that bothers you then?
Oh yeah, it bothers me.
So, kind of like, I could see that. I mean, they spend all this time. You hear, and of course you hear it from Tiffany. They've taken Tiffany all over Alcatraz, all kinds of places. Tiffany talks about it all the time. She loved all the times that she spent with them, which was just about every summer. They would fly her out and spend the summer, and then she'd come home. They didn't even give you the time of day, so I completely understand why you would be upset. It's you were kind of, I don't know. I don't know why. You'll probably never know why. Kind of sucks though, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I hear all this fun stuff that they did with them, and then what do I get? Nothing.
Okay. Are you mad at your mother for that too? Or are you mad at Wendy for that?
Partly because I feel like she could have scheduled that better, or like scheduled it or something. I don't know.
Or done something.
Or done anything.
Okay. Well, that, I think everything you feel is valid. I think that's, good insight.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I would feel the same way, probably.
I would assume too. And then, so there's, can you imagine, your grandparents do everything? I mean, you have an older brother. Can you imagine your grandparents doing everything for your older brother, and like you come around and they
yeah.
Who?
Like, who's that?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess my grandparents lived here, so I mean, I didn't have that problem, but.
Well, still, I mean, it's your brother's across, halfway across the United States, and you guys still seem to find time to talk to each other and do that kind of stuff. I mean,
but here's the thing, they flew her out every summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And you don't even get a phone call?
I don't even know.
Yeah. No, I understand. I mean, I get it. I feel your pain, and like I said, you have a right to be mad. You have a right to be upset. Where this goes is it's going to be up to you. It really is. You almost kind of seem like you were a little bit mad with your sister that she got to do that as well.
Yeah, because I hear all the fun that she's having.
Right, but that wasn't her fault. You know that, right?
No, I think they favorited her more than me.
Yeah, that very well could be true, but you got to understand that that's just the way they are. We can't control who or what they do, right?
Yeah.
So the trade-off is you don't get to go spend the summer over there, but you get to go take a helicopter ride through Mount Rushmore.
Exactly. I'd like to see Tiffany. What can live up to that?
We've been to a lot of places, a lot of places. So you
I think I've been more places than Tiffany.
At this point, you might have. I mean, all the trips that you've taken, we've taken you with us. I think I really like that Rebecca just kind of took you as your own.
Yeah.
You know, she's, you know,
And that's
you're her son.
You're stuck with me now.
And that's what I like. That I like that because like she took me in right away. Like
Yep.
loved me and cared for me like right away.
Right. And I will have to say her parents did the same thing to you, right?
Yeah, her dad loves me.
He does.
I mean, and he'd pretty much do anything for you too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's I don't know. Like I said, things, even as bad as things, and as angry as you can be, or that you are with Wendy's parents and Wendy, you got to look at, if you continue to look at the negative and say, man, I didn't do that. You got to start looking at the bright side and start saying, wow, look at the stuff I am doing, instead of the things that didn't happen.
And yet I still have a grandpa that spoils me.
You do.
You do.
You do. And I think he buys you a shirt every time you go somewhere, right?
I swear to God he does.
I think he just likes to do it just to do it too. So,
Yeah.
So no, I mean, I get your feelings, I get your frustration, but if you continue to hold on to that negative, move on. You can't make Wendy be in your life.
You cannot change somebody.
No.
Nope.
They could change on their own. If they change and they can change and they can say, yep, this is what I'm going to do, and then go from there, right?
Yeah.
But if they don't do that, that's on them, not us. So you have to continue to be you. You have to keep moving forward, and if it's her loss for not being in your life, not your loss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, this was
Her
definitely a different show, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
How do you feel after all this?
I feel a lot better.
Do you?
I feel like I've got a lot off my chest.
Good.
Okay.
You needed that.
Yeah, and you're fine doing that, and you sometimes you just have to get it all out and say, this is what I'm angry about, this is what I'm mad about, and it's valid. It's valid. So there might be other couples or kids that are feeling the same way, and they you got to understand that they're thinking you can't cut emotions like that. I mean, the paperwork could be done, but the emotions still stand.
Yeah.
You're still going to be a little angry. There's still going to be a little, resentment and, other feelings there that...
And those feelings are going to stay with you for the rest of your life.
They can. You're going to always, look back and say that and say, yep, I didn't like that, or I did like that.
Or I wish I did this, or... I wish I had more time.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda. That's what happened. But if you keep, like I said, if you keep holding on to that and say, I'm just going to hang on to this anger and everything, you're not going to make it very far. I'm telling you that right now. You have to eventually say, you know what? It's not worth my time to be angry anymore because I have bigger and better things to do.
Yeah.
Their loss, not mine. Let's move on.
Exactly.
All right, so, I think this was a lot more with Mikey than anything else, huh?
Yeah, I think he's talked a lot. It was kind of cool to hear him talk.
Yeah. I really think that if there's any other kids that are, like, going through this change or that are going through this, a lot of times they'll say, well, I don't want to... I still have the emotional attachment, so I don't want to do the paperwork. When sometimes that paperwork is one of the first steps forward to move forward.
And there's actually, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but there's a Facebook group for like step parent adoptions, and you'd be surprised at how many stories you hear that are similar, if not almost the same.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that if someone is listening to this podcast and they're saying, hey, you know, I know what you guys are going through because we've been through it, and you know, if they sit there and go, well, you know, the problem is you can't sit there and wait to say, is this the right thing to do? Is this not the right thing to do? Because sometimes not making the decision is not going to get you anywhere. So, well, I think this is a tough show, but I think this is going to be our show. So,
Sounds good.
yeah, this is the show. So,
Alrighty, bye everybody.